Hello viewer, it is a great pleasure to welcome you to another lesson 4, History and Government Form 2. This is your teacher, Mr. John N. GATUMA. In our previous lesson, we were able to look at the Trans Saharan Trade, and we discussed the origin of the Trans Saharan Trade. And therefore, at the end, I gave you some assignment to go and try, and it's my hope that you have been able to work on them. The question number 1 was to define the term Trans-Saharan Trade. Trans-Saharan Trade, remember in our introduction, we divided the term into two, Trans and Saharan. And we said Trans means across, and Sahara is a Sahara Desert, which is the largest in the world. We say that this is the trade, therefore is a trade that involved the moving or rather transacting goods from Maghreb, that is the northern of Africa, across the Saharan desert to West Africa, or rather the Western Sudanic kingdoms. So this is just the meaning of Trans-Saharan Trade. Question 2 was briefly describe the origin of the Trans-Saharan Trade. And the origin of Trans-Saharan Trade, this started or rather originated by the Arabs in the north of Africa. They wanted to transact the goods with the Sudanic kingdom, and therefore they used 3 months. Initially we said they started using the horse, and later they introduced the camel. And therefore by use of the camel as the sheep of the desert, they were able to use the 3 months to move across, or rather to track across the Sahara Desert. So this is how the trade started. In today's lesson, we shall start by, or rather we continue with the trade. And in the trade, we are going to discuss a subtopic that is factors for the development of Trans-Saharan Trade. We were able to discuss the origin. Now we know what it is. We know how it originated, and therefore we want to look at the development of the Trans-Saharan Trade. And on the development, we shall explore on the factors that led to the development of the Trans-Saharan Trade. The factors for the development of Trans-Saharan Trade, they are 1. The spread of Islam. The spread of Islam in the region unified the traders. In northern of Africa, that is the Maghreb, the place where the Arabs were many. They spread in the region of the Sudanic kingdom. They established their kingdom, and therefore this one unified the traders. The traders were able to carry out their goods. The merchants were able to transact their goods by the help of the spread of the Islam. Islam established a kingdom, and therefore they were able to carry out their goods. You can see the Islam, they spread in the region of West Africa. This one led to the development of the trade. Number 2 is because of the presence of the oasis. An oasis is a place in the desert where you get water, and this water it is used for the replenishment of the traders in the desert. This is the largest desert in Africa. The presence of oasis in the desert, that is the Sahara Desert, was a place for the refreshment and replenishment. And therefore, the traders, or rather the merchants, they were able to go and refresh, or rather replenish, before they move on to the next destination where there is a trade market. The oasis, we have said, is an area in the desert where there is water. And you can see a representation of the Oasis. The Oasis this is where the traders could gather so that they can refresh their camels, their horses. They were able to take some water. At the same time, they refresh and replenish themselves. So these oases played a very greater role as far as the development of Trans Saharan trade is concerned. That the camels were introduced as a sheep of the desert. The camel was introduced as a sheep of the desert. The camel is regarded as a sheep of the desert. And the reason why we call the camel as a sheep of the desert, remember, the camel replaced the horse. The horse were used for transport of the goods and services by the merchants. And therefore, these horses, they could not withstand an advanced temperature in the desert. And therefore, the camel was introduced. It is known as a sheep of the desert because the camel is able to move for a long period of time without water. The camel biologically has got a hump, and the hump can be able to store some food. Therefore, this one helped in transportation of the goods and the services, therefore regarded as a sheep of the desert. 2, the camel can be able to carry a lot of goods. You can see them in pictures. They are carrying a lot of goods, and therefore this one is like a sheep in the desert. Number 3, the camel has got the hooves. The toes of the camel, you can see they are how the legs are. They are able to move in the rocky ground, unlike the horse. So this reason you can say that a camel is a sheep of the desert. Number 4, the camel is known as a sheep of the desert. It is because of the moving. It can move for a long period of time without a need of the food. And therefore, this is a reason why we say the camel was a sheep of the desert. Therefore, this one brought a very great milestone in the development of the trade, the Trans Saharan trade. 4, there was the capital. Capital was provided by the rich merchant, or rather the wealthy merchant. These are the Berbers and the Arabs. The Berbers and the Arabs, they played a very greater role in providing the capital. And this capital was given to the traders, or rather the middlemen, who are able to carry out with this trade. So therefore, this is a factor, the main factor for the development of the trade. You can see the illustration of them are the rich and wealthy Berbers and the Arabs. So these people were so rich, they had amassed a lot of wealth as a result of the trade, and therefore they were able to use this trade so that they can give loans to the merchants that enabled the transaction of these goods. Number 5 factors for development is the presence of the Tuaregs. The Tuaregs guided the traders across the desert and provided the security. You can see in my illustration, you see the Tuaregs playing a very great role. Remember, this is a very new traders, or rather the merchants. They doesn't know the geography of the region of the desert, which is the largest in Africa. So the Tuaregs, who are the desert dwellers, they were able to provide a guide, or rather they acted as a guide to the traders across the desert. Remember, the traders or the merchants, they used almost 3 months to cross the desert, and therefore many at the time they lose their way. So, and also the insecurity. So to curb this, the Tuaregs played a very greater role so that they can bring the traders together and also guide them as they provide them with the security. You see that the tour guides, or rather the guides, that is the Tuaregs. Tuaregs, they are very, very much important as far as the Trans Saharan Trade is concerned. They acted as a tour guide, and therefore, because they knew the direction in the desert, they were able to guide these traders. Six, there was availability of the trade goods. So therefore, presence of the trade goods, it enabled the trade. You can see in the illustration, the trade goods were so many. And therefore, the trade goods that were introduced by all the way from Maghreb to the Sudan kingdom, or rather West Africa, we have goods such as the salt, we have goods such as the beads, there are so many goods, the glasswares, and many other that were introduced in this trade. So this one provided, or rather availed, the goods for trade, and therefore this one encouraged the development of the trade, and the traders were able to engage in the transaction. Examples of the goods are the trade goods that were available in this trade. We have goods such as the beads, we have the silk, we have the cowrie shells, we have the salt, we have the iron tools, or we have the glassware. So all these trade, you can see them well demonstrated. They are in the desert, or rather they are in Sahara Desert. So these traders, they were able to exchange these goods for mutual benefit. So this is a factor that actually led to the development of the trade. Number seven, it led to there was a strong kingdom. The strong kingdom had able leaders to provide security to traders. So the strong kingdom, having the able leaders, they were able to provide the security for the traders. Remember, we began by saying that all the Arabs from the northern kingdom, they had occupied the Sudani kingdom, and therefore they had established their kingship. So the strong kingdom that was there in West Africa, such as the kingdom that is Ghana, that was actually known as the Kubi Sare. The Kubi Sare was a kingdom that existed 800 to 1050 years. We have the Mali, that is the Timbuktu. The Mali, that is in 1235 to 1400. We have the Songhai, that was known as the Gao. Gao existed in 1464 to 1591. So this one, among many other kingdoms, they were the very strong kingdom in West Africa. And therefore, this one provided the security to the traders. As the traders were carrying out with their daily activities, the kingdom, the leaders in this kingdom, they were able to protect the merchants. We have other kingdom, for example, very strong one, well represented now in the map. You can see the Ghana, the Kubi Saleh. The Kubi Saleh was a very great and strong kingdom. We have the Mali. We have the Mali, Timbuktu, that was initially known as the Timbuktu. We have the Songhai. Songhai is the Gao. So these were among many other kingdoms that were existed between 500 to 1600 CE. So they were able to provide the security for the traders. Another one is that the camels were introduced to replace the horse as the transport, or rather to transport goods. You can see the camels all the way from Maghreb, that is in northern of Africa. They carry the goods a long distance, and that's why we say they are regarded as the sheep of the desert. You can see the sheep of the desert in action. The sheep of the desert played a very greater role, moving the goods, roads, and also transportation of the merchants from one place to another. The camels, they could move all the way from Maghreb, and they were introduced so that they can help in the transport of the goods. Others, we have them, and we have the camels that were actually, they are replenished in the Oasis. And in Oasis played a very great role as far as the replenishment is concerned. In Oasis is where you see the traders gather so that they can refresh themselves before they embark on the journey. And we say that this journey took 3 months to cross the desert. The dwellers, there was the settlement in the desert. The settlement in the desert, we have those communities that were involved. Example of this community, we have the Arabs, we have the Berbers, we have the Tuaregs. Among many others, they had established their settlement in the desert. You can see the picture, the clear picture of the desert that they had occupied. They played a very great role, such that when the merchants came all the way from the North Africa or the Maghreb, they were guided. They were guided and offered security on their way. To this, it has come to the end of our lesson today. And I want to leave you with some assignments that you may try at home. And in the next lesson, we shall discuss them in detail. You explain. The question is, you explain why a camel is regarded as a sheep of the desert. Explain why a camel is regarded as a sheep of the desert. The question is 5 marks. So thank you for following our lesson today. And for this and much more, you can always get us, Elimu TV, through SMS number on your screen, that is 40007. Let me repeat, 40007. On our Facebook page, you can get us through Elimu TV page. And also in our Twitter, you can get us through our Twitter handle at Elimu_KE. So thank you for following my lesson. I have been your teacher, Mr. John GATUMA. Till we meet in the next lesson. Thank you.